Hey there folks, welcome to the channel and welcome to Celebrate Sausage, a series sponsored by The Sausage Maker. If you like sausages, you've come to the right place because you've caught us in the middle of a month-long series with daily sausage recipe uploads, and we're just getting started. Yesterday's recipe was an absolute riot, and today we're going to see if we can top it as we make the Hungarian salami. The Hungarian salami is an absolute flavor masterpiece. I mean, it's fermented, it's cured, it's heavily smoked and dried, it's spiced with the most amazing spices like Hungarian paprika and so on and so forth. And these spices get concentrated during the drying process, and what's left is a shelf-stable, dry-cured piece of meat that is absolutely sublime. In today's episode, I'm going to share with you the entire process on how to make this amazing salami. Let's get it going. Hungarian salami, here we come. It's going to be a little intense, but you know what? I think we got this. This is an all-pork salami. We're going to start off with some pork back fat. I've also got some pork belly. I had some pork belly left over from a different project, and I thought, you know what? Let's go ahead and toss that in here. And we've got some pork shoulder. Basically, this is a 70% lean, 30% fat salami. So however you want to mix and match the pork, you can certainly do that, but you want to try to end up with about 30% fat. So we're just going to go ahead and cut this up into pieces that are small enough to fit into our grinder. I like to cut mine up relatively small because I'm using a number 12 grinder, and the motor is not incredibly powerful. So if you do have a, let's say, number 22 or number 32 grinder, you got a really strong motor on it, you can cut these up into nice big chunks, nice big strips, not a problem. It should take care of it. We're going to pop this into the freezer. We want it below 32 degrees Fahrenheit before we grind it. And let's take a look at our spices. We've got salt and cure number 2. We're also going to be adding just a little dextrose. That's going to help feed our bacteria. We've also got some granulated sugar and some caraway. Check the description box below if you want to see the full-blown recipe. We got to have that Hungarian paprika, and we've got both hot and sweet Hungarian paprika that we're going to be adding to this recipe. And then we've got a little black pepper, and we're going to finish it off with some minced garlic. And that's what our spice profile looks like. Let's look at the bacteria that we're going to be adding to ferment our salami. This is called Flavor of Italy. If you've been watching my channel for any length of time, you'll know this is my absolute favorite because it's fast and very predictable. So it's a great starter culture if you're just getting into salami making. This little pack will make a bunch of salami, and you can get it exclusively from the Sausage Maker. So to use a bacterial starter culture, we're just going to add the necessary amount to some distilled water. And I'm going to let it rehydrate for 30 minutes. That's going to wake up our bacteria so that by the time we add it to our meat, they're going to begin eating the sugar and they're going to start fermenting our salami meat, which is exactly what we want. It's going to give the good bacteria a head start over the bad bacteria. So let's fold that back up. I'm going to place that into a vacuum seal bag and stick it into my freezer. Both mold cultures and bacteria cultures should be kept in your freezer at all times. If you have a vacuum sealer, I would recommend vacuum sealing that when you put it into your freezer, and it's just going to help extend the shelf life. So we're just going to give that a little mix, swirl it around, and leave it on our counter for 30 minutes. That's all you really need. So in 30 minutes, we'll be using it. And while that's rehydrating, let's look at our casing. We're using a synthetic casing. This is a 62 millimeter protein line casing from the Sausage Maker. And what we want to do is we want to tie off one of the ends. And we want to tie it in such a way that the meat doesn't come spilling out whenever we hang it in our drying chamber. So let me kind of show you one way. There's lots of different ways you could tie your casing. I'm going to start off by doing like an accordion fold at the very end of it. This is a more sophisticated style of bubble knot. And so once we have our accordion fold, that's what it's going to look like. I'm going to take some butcher's twine and we're just going to tie a simple knot about 2 inches from the edge. So nothing special here, just a regular simple knot. And notice how one piece of string is longer than the other. That's kind of what we're looking for. All right, so we're going to tighten that up really nice. And now we have our simple knot on that accordion fold. What I want to do now is pinch it about 1 inch from the top. So I'm just pinching that accordion fold, and I'm going to take the longer string and I'm going to wrap it around the casing right where my finger is. So let me get a little bit closer so you can see what I'm talking about. So I'm pinching it about 1 inch from the top, and we're going to wrap our string around that casing right above where our fingers are and do another simple knot. Let's tighten that up, and if you've done this correctly, what you should be looking at are 2 knots at the end of this casing, one a little bit higher than the other. What's left to do is to simply
connect the loose strings together by tying them off. So we're just going to take one string, tie it off to the other with a regular knot, and the moment you tighten that, you're physically going to create a little bubble. See that? You're going to create a little bubble. That's going to prevent your casing from opening up and your meat from spilling out while it's hanging in your drying chamber. See, as more pressure is put on that bubble knot, it actually gets tighter, and that's the beauty of this knot. So great knot to know for salami making. I'm just going to go ahead and tie it off by adding another knot, and there we go. That is going to be the bottom of our salami. So let's go ahead and rehydrate this. This is a really easy and quick casing to rehydrate. Takes about 10 or 15 minutes in some lukewarm water. We want to make sure that we get this casing completely wet inside and out and fully submerged. So lukewarm water, 10-15 minutes, that's really all we need. We're going to set this to the side because at this point our meat should be properly chilled, and it is. This is semi-frozen. It's about 30 degrees Fahrenheit, and for me, this is the perfect temperature to grind your meat when making sausages or salami. Let's get it ground up on a number 6 grinding plate. This looks great. Let's give it a quick temperature check, because if it rose too much, we want to re-chill it, but we are still at 30 degrees Fahrenheit. Absolutely perfect. We've got our starter culture, our spices, and our meat. And look at that meat, nice and loose. The fat in this grind looks absolutely perfect. Let's get a closer look so you can see what I'm talking about. I mean, it is firm, it's defined, it's going to give us great particle definition and beautiful marbling once we get this salami finished. So let's go ahead and get this into our mixer. Mixing your meat for salami is not very different than mixing your meat for sausage. So if you're familiar with sausage making, this step should come pretty easy. We're going to add our spices, and we're going to add our starter culture. And really that's it. The goal here is going to be the same. We're looking for a nice sticky meat batter once it's done. That's going to let us know that we have proper protein extraction. And so with the KitchenAid, I believe we've only mixed for a couple of minutes. Maybe 2 minutes, and this is what our meat mixture looks like. Very sticky, smells incredible, and you know, we're going to grab a little handful and see if it sticks to the bottom of our hand. So here we go. Let's turn our hand upside down. There we go. Nice and sticky. Let's go ahead and move on to the next step, which is stuffing it into its casing. Now, we're just about finished with the preparation of the salami, but I do want to talk about one thing. Check out the fat. You know, this is what I was talking about earlier. When you grind and mix your meat and it's very cold, the fat stays solid, which is going to give us gorgeous marbling. Our casing size, like we said earlier, is 62 millimeter. This is going to take about 2 months, but you know, you can find Hungarian salami in many different sizes. A very traditional size is about 30 millimeter. So if you want to do a smaller diameter Hungarian salami, use like a hog casing. It might only take anywhere between 4 to 5 weeks to be prepared. When it comes to stuffing our meat into the casing, no matter what size you use, you want to get it in there as tight as possible. We want to really pack it in there. And that's one of the reasons I like these synthetic casings so much, is because they can really hold up to these very tight stuffings. You do want to be careful if you do use a natural casing, like beef rounds, beef middles, hog casing, things like that, because they could bust pretty easily. But this synthetic casing is not a problem. We can really pack that meat in there without any worries of it rupturing. Okay, our salami's formed, and we've got a little bit of meat inside our stuffing horn. And so what we want to do is we want to get that into that salami as well. So I'm just going to stuff that horn back in there, and I'm going to use a sausage stuffing horn cleaner from the sausage maker. This is one of those tools that I use every time I make sausage or salami. And we're just going to push that meat all the way through, which is going to allow us to get the most out of this salami. No, there we go. Nice and clean. Next thing we want to do is tie off our salami. It's packed in there nice and tight. And what we're going to do is we're going to create the exact same type of knot that we did for the bottom for the top. So we've got another bubble knot, but for the top, I'm going to create a little hanging point for my hook. I'm going to take a sausage pricker and prick out any air pockets that might have formed. You don't want any air pockets between the meat and the casing. Once the air pockets have been removed, let's go ahead and weigh it. Right now it's 1,045 grams. That is our starting weight. And I want to target a 40% weight loss for this salami. So 40% minus 1,045 is 627 grams. So when this salami chub hits that target of 627, it is ready to eat. If you like a softer salami, You can target anywhere between 30 to 35%. If you like a more firm, 35 to 40%. So we're targeting 40%. 627 is our magic number. Let's go ahead and get this tied off. And we need to ferment our salami. This is the last step of the preparation when it comes to making salami. And there's really only two rules you need to follow when it comes to fermenting your salami. Keep the right humidity and keep the right temperature. Humidity is critical for proper fermentation. We want the humidity above 90%, and you can either create a chamber for fermenting your salami or do what I'm doing here, and it's just wrap it in some cling film. That cling film is going to lock in that moisture. It's going to maintain a very high humidity, which is going to be perfect for fermenting our salami. The next thing I want to do is grab a little extra mincemeat. Now, there was some at the very bottom of my hopper in my sausage stuffer, and so I'm going to grab some of that mincemeat and I'm going to wrap it up in some cling film as well. This mincemeat is what we're going to use to test the pH of our salami, so we don't disrupt that chub that we've got over there wrapped up. So we're just going to wrap that up, no problem, and we'll test the pH here in a second. Now, the next thing we want to focus on is temperature. The starter culture that we added likes the temperature range between 70 Fahrenheit and 85 Fahrenheit. And currently in my kitchen, it's about 72 degrees Fahrenheit. So for me, all I'm going to do is leave the salami on the kitchen counter just like that, and it's going to ferment for 18 to 24 hours. You could stick this in a biltong box. You could stick this in an oven with a light on. It really doesn't matter, just as long as you're in that temperature range. So remember, to ferment your salami, we're looking for a temperature range of 70 to 85 Fahrenheit or 21 to 29 Celsius. We want high humidity, at least 90%. And so, wrapping in cling film is absolutely perfect. And we're going to let it ferment for 18 to 24 hours. Now, these parameters are for flavor of Italy, and we're going to be targeting a pH of anything between 4.9 and 5.2. So that's considered the safe zone for this salami. Let's see what we've got. It's been about 20 hours. It's the next day. And let's go ahead and open up our little sample piece. This looks amazing. Proper fermentation will change the texture of the meat. So notice that it's more firm. It's not gooey and sticky like it was when it was raw. It's got a beautiful color, and the smell is incredible. I'm using an Apera Instruments pH meter to check the pH. A link will be in the description box. This is a very reliable tool and a worthy investment if you plan on making this a hobby. So let's see what our pH is. We're looking for anything between 4.9 and 5.2. Looks like I'm at 4.88. I should have checked it about an hour ago, but you know what? This is totally fine. It's not the end of the world if you happen to overshoot your pH target. Just make a note, and then next time check it a little bit sooner. The lower your pH goes, the more acidic or tangy your salami will taste. But the difference between 4.88, which is mine, and my target at 4.9 is virtually insignificant, so I'm not worried about it. Let's go ahead and unwrap this salami because we are just about finished. Now, what's left to do is to cold smoke this salami. But if I do it now, it will continue to ferment. So what we're going to do instead is place this into our chamber for 1 day. That's going to bring the temperature of the meat down, which is going to slow down that bacterial activity. And then tomorrow, and probably for the next 4 days, we're going to take this salami out and cold smoke it during the coolest part of the day for about 3 hours. And that's never really going to give this meat a chance to get back up to fermentation temperature, which is going to be absolutely perfect. So let's recap because this can get a little confusing. This is going to go into the chamber for 1 day. After 1 day in the chamber, so 24 hours in the chamber, we're now going to start a cold smoking cycle. And we're going to cold smoke this salami during the coolest part of the day for only about 3 hours. After it's done cold smoking, we're going to place it back into the chamber and then repeat the process for a few more days. All right, does that make sense? Let me know in the comment section if I happen to have lost you. So just let me show you what it looks like. We just took it out of our chamber. It's been in there for a day. We're firing up our cold smoker from smoking it. And right now, it's the coolest part of the day. It's about 64, 65 degrees Fahrenheit. We're going to be cold smoking this for about 3 hours. And then after 3 hours, we're going to take it out of our smoker and place it back into the chamber. And that's it. Now, I chose to do this for 4 days in a row. You could do this for 1 day or 2 days, or you can just omit the smoke altogether. It's completely up to you, but this particular salami is traditionally smoked. This is what the salami looks like after doing this process for 4 days. Beautiful smoke, beautiful color, and now we're ready to complete the drying process. So we're doing this in a dry curing chamber from the sausage maker, but you could do it in a cellar, a basement, a DIY chamber. It really doesn't matter. What you're targeting is an area that has an average temperature of around 55 Fahrenheit or 13 Celsius, with a humidity of about 75 to 80%. That's kind of like the ideal zone for drying salami. And we're targeting a 40% weight loss. Now, anything technically between 30% and 40% is acceptable. I like mine to be a little bit more firm, so 40% is what we shoot for. And it's been roughly about 65 days or so since it's been hanging in our chamber, and it's now ready to eat. It's lost 40% of its weight, and we're going to go ahead and give it a cut and see what it looks like. And this salami feels incredible. When you give it a squeeze, you can tell that it's firm throughout, which is always a good indicator that it dried evenly. Let's go ahead and cut the tips of our salami off, and you can see right here on the tips that we had a nice even drying. This is typically the most difficult part of the salami. Usually people cut this off and toss it because it doesn't dry properly, but look at that. Absolutely beautiful. Great looking color of the salami. No dry ring. Very encouraging. Let's go ahead and open it up and give it a taste.
The Hungarian salami, I mean, this looks amazing. Very pleased with the way it came out. We've got beautiful marbling. We've got a great bind on this. Nice protein extraction, keeps it all together. It dried evenly, and I wish I could take credit for that, but that was actually the sausage maker's dry curing chamber. It just kept the right temperature and humidity, and we've got a really nice looking salami. Yep, that's the stuff. Let's just go ahead and give it a taste. There is just something so satisfying about having a high quality piece of salami. But then you add smoke to it, you add Hungarian paprikas, you have a fat that's so creamy it just melts in your mouth. And that's what I'm eating right here, guys. This is absolutely incredible. That is definitely in my top 5 best tasting salamis of all time. Absolutely incredible. Texture-wise, it's perfect, so we dried it exactly to where I like it. You remember, if you want it a little softer, you can pull it from the chamber a little bit sooner, maybe 30, 32%. If you like it a little bit more firm, you can let it dry a little bit longer, but for me, this was perfect. I'm going to put a recipe link in the description box below. It's going to have all the ingredients, the whole entire process, and if at any point you ever have any questions, you can always reach out. And just to let you know, if you would like a place where you can submit your sausage or salami successes or failures or questions, we now have a subreddit page. Be sure to check the description box and jump on that subreddit so that you can be a part of the Two Guys and a Cooler community on Reddit. That'll be pretty exciting. If you thought this video was helpful, be sure to smash that thumbs up button. And if you're new to this channel and you liked what you saw, you're going to love what's coming next, because tomorrow and every day for the rest of this month, we've got a daily upload. I don't want you to miss a single episode. Do me a favor, click that subscribe button and that notification bell and be a part of Celebrate Sausage. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Bye-bye.